Yeah, what's up, guys? Today I have something interesting. I accidentally stepped upon this channel, this guy's channel, who, for whatever reason, has the biggest collection of videos and documentaries on satanic ritual abuses that I've ever seen. And so, if you watched a little bit of my content already, you might be familiar with the fact that in the past the CIA has been deeply involved in satanic ritual abuses. And there's absolutely no doubt about it, not just by the documentaries which exist. The fact that surveillance everywhere is stronger than ever, and still, as far as the last time that I heard, the numbers on the production of pedophilic pornographic material has been purported to have risen by 5,000% in the last 5 years or so. I don't know anymore about the exact numbers, which have been told by this dude who was played by this actor in The Sound of Freedom, so he is the real deal, and he has been chasing cases of pedophilia child factories where satanic ritual abuses have evidently been taking place. And if you heard of or read about Fiona Barnett or Kim Noble, you also know that those stories are true, and of the CIA's involvement in them. And so in the spirit of this, I thought let's start with watching this video, part 1. I hope that it's somewhat interesting.
I don't know if you know it or not. Some of you do, some of you don't. Former head of the FBI, Los Angeles, California, retired in 1979, March. And shortly after my retirement, I was asked to investigate the Jeffrey R. McDonald case as a private investigator. He's a former Green Beret doctor who was convicted of murdering his wife and 2 children in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, February 17, 1970. It's a long story. I put in about 2,000 hours on the case. When the case first began, my investigation first began, I told Dr. McDonald that I would investigate the matter for him. He had just been convicted and was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. I think I'm going to sneeze. I didn't make it. Okay. 3 consecutive life sentences. I told him if I found out that he was guilty, I would no longer be on the case. I would drop my investigation. Much to my surprise, from the evidence that I read, information that I developed over a period of several years, I've established beyond any question of a doubt that this man is absolutely innocent. And on October 25, 1980, I obtained a signed confession from Helena Stokely, the girl in the floppy hat, if you know the case. By the way, there was a best-selling book, Fatal Vision, and a movie out on this. And the girl in the floppy hat said that Dr. McDonald did not commit those crimes. They were committed by my satanic cult group. And it was my initiation into the cult that night. And she gave me detailed information about the movement within the house that night, who did what. And I said to her, Helena, how do I know you're telling me the truth? And so one of the questions I asked her, the whole series of questions I asked her, and this is on audio video in some instances, the video, but always on audio. She said, I said, Lena, tell me about describe the jewelry box on the dresser in the master bedroom. And she described it right to a T. And just to make sure, I went down to Sears Roebuck and got a catalog and brought it back, and I said, Alina, pick out the jewelry box in this catalog that was on the dresser. She picked out the jewelry box. It matched. Also, she told me that she attempted to ride a rocking horse in the child's bedroom that night, but she couldn't ride it because the spring was broken. The only way she could have known that spring was broken was to have been there the night of the murders, February 17, 1970. So anyway, I submitted a 1,200-plus page report, actually 1,100-plus page, almost 1,200 pages.
All right, so that's pretty interesting if you ask me.
In March of 1981 to the FBI, Judge Webster, with a personal letter. He was director of the FBI. And I said, Judge, I believe this man is innocent, and he'd run out of money, and, you know, I continued to work it as I usually do. And I think that the FBI should continue along the lines of my investigation. And much to my surprise, I started receiving, by the way, it also went to the FBI and to the U.S. Department of Justice, the Solicitor General's office. And much to my surprise, my witnesses, my 19 new witnesses, including Alina Stokely, started calling me and saying, hey, Ted, the FBI has interviewed me. They're trying to get me to recant. And I'm saying to myself, that isn't the responsibility of the FBI. The FBI is supposed to gather information, not destroy it. And that was my first clue that we had a serious problem in that case. And then I continued on, and I had a number of other cases that I handled privately. And in each instance, I noticed evidence was lost, destroyed, stolen. I noticed that there were strong indications of corruption. So I asked myself, now what's going on here? And over the years, I started gathering material.
You know, that was also what Marcel Poulter, the author of the book Dark New World Order, has reported, you know, that it's not that the respective agencies like the FBI or the BKA in Germany are not aware of this. It's that the corruption regarding this matter is so strong that there's little to no chance of pursuing it. And now again, you might have to wonder, okay, what kind of actors can be that strong? You know, what kind of money and power is involved that there's such a foothold, I believe is the right word, on this matter.
Until about 2 years ago, up until about 2 years ago, I kept saying there's a loose-knit network operating in this country involving drugs, pedophilia, pornography, prostitution, corruption, etc., etc. 2 years ago, from my research, I'm convinced it's much more serious than that. It's more than a loose-knit network. It is a conspiracy. And you know how the news media comes after us when we use the word C, conspiracy, that C word. Well, they can come after me all they like, because I guarantee you right here and now, we do have a conspiracy, and I'm going to prove it to you here today. Now, one of the things that convinced me and really got me started in this regard, by the way, this conspiracy involves pornography, drugs, corruption, involves pedophilia, involves organized child kidnapping rings, the Finders out of Washington, D.C., CIA cover, covert operation involved in the international trafficking of children, terrorism, bank accounts, and it goes on and on. By the way, I strongly urge you to go to my booth after this lecture and get my research, my book and my research on missing children. We're going to go into that a little bit in the lecture. But my missing children lecture documents that the finders, an organization in Washington, D.C., the CIA front. It's a covert operation. They're involved in international trafficking of children. And I have a U.S. Customs report, official U.S. Customs report, in my book on the missing children. So I urge you to get it. It's only $10. Now, if you buy any...
So that's also what Fiona Barnett has been purporting since long time, right? And she is basically missing, if you ask me. So her blog is down. You know, I tried all sorts of ways to contact her, but I can't get a fucking hold on her. You know, it's like she's practically missing, if you ask me. Like I can't find any sort of way to contact her over the internet by now, and yeah. So if you watch if you look at some of the paintings which have been made by the altar by Kim Noble, who carries the trauma from the abuse, you know, you might call it abuse, but if you ask me, it's obviously torture. Then she had painted paintings with the British flag and the American flag with white lines and that dots splattered over them, and a Y question mark in the middle, and her paintings matched the descriptions given by Fiona Barnett exactly. So that's how I know that this topic is real, not only because I've gotten to know the CIA by now by a little bit, and I know what kind of fuckers they are, at least when it comes to the their core, I think.
Any of my products, any of my research, I beg of you, I don't want you to buy it unless you make a half a dozen copies and send it to your friends, okay? The name of the game with me is not copyright. I could care less about copyright. The name of the game is education, education, education. We need to know what's going on in this country today. So anything, any of my research that you buy, please make copies and get them out to your friends. That's what it's all about. After one of my lectures, here's about 2 years ago, this is why I changed my mind from and using the word hallucinate network to conspiracy. After one of my lectures, a gentleman came up and gave me a book. He said, Ted, in fact, that lecture was specifically on the McDonald case.
You know, you also have to wonder, you know, because for me, it's, again, as I said in one of my previous videos, it's more easy for me to believe these things by now because I know of the things that the CIA does and is capable of doing. Like, for example, erecting this network of brain cloud interfaces and it not being spilled to the public, you know. So I know what they're capable of. I know the extent to which the corruption goes, you know. If you look at how I was psychologically tortured, for example, and all the torture that I've been threatened with, and how they've been threatening me with torturing my mom, for example, while Gina Haspel was the, you know, I'm still threatened with these things and things like that. You know, while Gina Haspel was the director of the CIA, and she swore that she won't do anything alike anymore, basically, and the fact that she became the director of the CIA in the first place, considering that, no, her history is, no, nothing but corrupt, right? But, you know, that's the US government for you.
Here's what it's all about. take this book and
And
read
the
it.
clandestine services.
And this is the book, folks. It's called Pawns in the Game. Now, if you don't know this book, you don't know of it, I urge you to buy it. I've been trying to buy it, but I noticed that one of the vendors out here has it. And please, go get the copy of this book. I forget which vendor has it. What? CPA book. Yeah. I noticed they had 3 copies. Are you with CPA book? Huh? Richard Flowers. Go get this book when it's over and order some more copies. I'm going to order some myself and start selling them in my flyer. Anyway, it's called Pawns in the Game, and it's by William Guy Carr. William Guy Carr had the same problem I did. He wanted to know what's going on in America and around the world. He was a Canadian, however, and as a result of his research, he wrote this book. So, we have the Illuminati. Now, the Illuminati was established in 1776 by a fellow named Adam Weishaupt.
So this is obviously a topic which is also very easily disregarded by most. You know, I personally, again, as I have gotten to know the CIA, I'm not surprised anymore by movies such as Illuminati with Tom Hanks, you know, coming out, because that's how the CIA and the likes of the CIA discredit such topics, right? By anyhow, and it's obviously difficult to believe for most people that such things, you know, do exist and play a role, but according to the research by Fiona Barnett, Illuminati, Luciferianism, and the CIA are intimately tied together, and there's no doubt about it. And I have little to no reason to doubt it by now.
1773, he was commissioned by one of the Rothschilds, House of Rothschild, to put together an organization called the Illuminati. And he culminated his work in May the 1st, 1776. If you'll notice, that's a communist holiday. And we're going to...
But that's one of the difficulties with this topic in general, you know, everything that I'm pursuing, because I'm in the know of. So there are a few things that I'm undoubtedly in the know of. One is that of the existence of brain cloud interfaces, right? The other is of the CIA having absolutely no qualms about threatening one with torture and threatening one with torturing one's family members or friends. I don't know if they are conducting any torture. I do know that some of the things they've done to me, they could have only done if they would have gathered the relevant information through, well, human experiments, basically. Like, it's like, come on, we're talking about the CIA. It's like some things, but now, again, considering the technological advancement that I have witnessed, are without beyond any reasonable doubt. For example, that they have clones, you know, that they clone people or genetically construct, let's say, the perfect spies or soldiers, etc. You know, all of that is no doubt to me. And I know that satanic ritual abuses and Luciferianism exists because of all the evidence that I have seen regarding this topic. So all these things are undoubtedly true. The problem is that these topics alone are extremely extremely difficult to believe for probably, well, for at least 95% of people, I think. And if you get even deeper and scrape on topics like Illuminati, etc., you know, even though there's not much difference between that and Luciferianism in principle, only that one name of those is already very heavily tainted with the term conspiracy theory and the disregard for it, you know. But the problem is that these things are so difficult to believe for the average person. And another problem is that this culture has been cultivated which makes people believe that no sane or intelligent person ever believes in conspiracy theories, and if you do, you know, you're dumb basically, even though it's almost the other way around, you know, insofar that if you're smart, you don't automatically disregard categorically any such thing.
I have to move along pretty fast. This is actually a
No, you don't
lecture
automatically believe them either, right?
I'm going to give you today. We're going to do it in probably an hour and 15, 20 minutes. But some of his goals, and the goals that he was commissioned to set up, there were 25 of them. And here they are right here. Here's the beginning of it right here. And rather than read each one of them, I'm going to summarize it, okay? Because we've got a lot of work to get into. Number one issue was men are inclined to evil rather than good. Number two goal and issue was to preach liberalism. Number three, use the ideas of freedom to bring about class wars. That's what we're doing today. Number four, any and all means should be used to reach our goals as they are justified, any and all means. Number five, their rights lie in force. We're talking about the Illuminati rights lie in force. Number six, the power of our resources must remain invisible until the very moment when it has gained the strength that no cunning or force can undermine it. And if you will notice, it's been very few people know about the Illuminati, so they have maintained their invisibility until most recently. Number seven, advocated mob psychology to obtain control of the masses. Number eight, use alcohol, drugs, moral corruption, and all forms of vice to systematically corrupt the youth of the nation. I mean, I don't need to document that one. How about South Central LA, CIA drug operations coming in there? How about Mena, Arkansas? Drugs coming into this country, arms and munitions going out. If you don't believe me, talk to Terry Reid, talk to Chip Tatum, talk to some of these other individuals who I know personally know. During the recent, last fall actually, drug hearings by Mr. Arlen Specter, Senator Arlen Specter, one of the big phonies of Washington, D.C., the magic bullet theorist, I watched those hearings, and I couldn't believe the mamby-pamby, weak witnesses he brought forward, people that really had no direct knowledge of the drug operation. And that hearing was about bringing drugs into South Central LA by the CIA. I sent him a list of 16 names of people who had personal, direct knowledge of drugs being brought into this country by the CIA. Never heard another word. None of those people ever appeared as witnesses. I might also mention in Oklahoma City, I sent my report, copy my report back to the committee. I sent them a fax.
And that's what's so difficult for people to believe, right? Like I have no problems believing such things because I have gotten to know the CIA. Obviously not in its entirety, but enough to know that that's the kind of thing which CIA does. You know, and if you read the recent article which I have posted, you know. CIA tried to pay off analysts to bury findings that COVID lab leak was true. So that is the kind of thing that the CIA does. But people have difficulties believing such things because honestly, I think the simplest term to use would be because they're sheep.
The Oklahoma City bombing. That report, by the way, is also available to you. I urge you to buy it. Never received a response. Number 9, seize property by any means. We're seeing that on a daily basis. Farmers, businessmen, people who are arrested on nebulous charges, their property's being taken away from them. Here's an example right here. This lady right here, she lost everything. Everything. They've come out and raided her house twice, Linda. Twice, Linda. This lady had a house that she bought before her marriage. It was in her name, and they seized it. She no longer has that house. Number 10, deal with
kind of reminds me of how
equity,
I don't know if you remember the YouTube channel FPS Russia. It was an innocent, let's say, YouTube channel, but of a guy who pretended to be Russian, like faked a Russian accent and showcased all kinds of weapons, and he was one of the most watched channels in the world. And he has been charged with stupid shit, and his house raided and stuff, and basically he was forced to quit his channel. And knowing the CIA, I also wouldn't be surprised if they were the ones who killed his business partner and friend in the first place, so that he would be charged with the suspicion to have done such a thing. It's just like, I know that those are the kinds of things which the CIA does, because if you've gotten enough experience with them, you don't have any doubts about such things anymore. Not that they have done it, but that they do such things.
liberty, fraternity into the mouths of the masses in psychological warfare. Boy, if that isn't Bill Clinton, I never saw it, never heard it before. That man is unbelievable. As former Congressman Dennemeyer describes him, he's a draft-dodging, womanizing, pathological liar, and he certainly fits into item number 10. Number 11 dealt with war, number 11 theory and goal. In 1773, Adam Weizsäcker set down policies that were publicly announced in 1939, folks. 1773, publicly announced 1939 by Britain and the United States. And the war should be directed so that the nations on both sides are placed further in debt and peace conferences conducted so neither combatants obtain territorial rights. Yalta. Perfect example. Stalin, Roosevelt, Winston Churchill after World War II. Number 12 told those present that they must use their wealth to have candidates chosen to public office who would be obedient to their demands and would be used as pawns in the game by the men behind the scenes.
That's Biden for you, right? Like, without a slimmer of a doubt.
The advisors will have been bred, reared, and trained from childhood to rule the affairs of the world.
You know, I have a problem, and I'm going to voice that in a conflict now. And the problem they have is that out of any presidential candidate for the 2024 election, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. without a doubt appears to be the most trustworthy and revolutionary in a sense, and acting with integrity. But for whatever reason, I can't shake off this bad feeling about him.
We have that today without any question. The men behind the scenes. Number 13, control the press. If you heard my lecture yesterday on Oklahoma City, I documented that the mainstream media is being controlled by the big power people, by the phony politicians, by the bureaucrats, without any question about it. Information in the media, I have an itchy nose today. Maybe I'm going to kiss a fool or something.